Pull counter. The pull counter is one of boxing's simplest traps. Show the target, make him reach, hit him before he gets back. Roy Jones Jr. used it against Glenn Kelly in February 2002. Kelly came in unbeaten at 28-0-1, and Jones was defending the undisputed light heavyweight championship. By round 7, Jones had already dropped Kelly twice and was controlling the pace. Near the ropes, Jones put both hands behind his back. Kelly saw the opening and stepped in behind the jab. Jones did not jump away or reset. He leaned back only enough for the glove to pass in front of his face. Kelly's left hand was still extended when Jones' right hand started over the top. His shoulder was turned, his guard was split, and his chin was still in the lane. The right hand landed before Kelly could bring the jab back. He fell backward onto the canvas and was counted out. Jones made the counter work by staying close after the miss. If he had pulled farther back, the punch would have been safe, but the counter would have been gone. Trap counter. A trap counter starts by letting the opponent feel like the attack is working. He throws more, commits more, and gives you the opening you were waiting for. Gervonta Davis can build traps by letting opponents open up first. Against Leo Santa Cruz in October 2020, Davis was facing a 37-1 and 1-4 division champion who was used to winning exchanges with volume. Davis did not need to rush. He needed Santa Cruz to open up at the wrong distance. In round 6, Davis was near the ropes when Santa Cruz stepped in behind another combination. Davis stayed low instead of backing straight out. He kept his guard tight, stayed close through the exchange, and never gave Santa Cruz a clean reset. That is what made the counter available. Santa Cruz was still thinking offense. His feet were set to keep punching, not to defend. Davis slipped inside the rhythm of the combination and fired the left uppercut from underneath. The punch landed before Santa Cruz could adjust his guard. His body stiffened. He dropped backward under the ropes, and the fight ended on the exact opening Davis had waited for. Counter the reset. Countering the reset means hitting the opponent after the exchange, not during it. The puncher thinks he has finished his attack, pulls back into stance, and gets caught before his feet and guard settle. Dimitri Bivol punishes that pause with straight punches. Against Joe Smith Jr. in March 2019, Bivol was defending the WBA light heavyweight title against a 24-2 puncher with 20 knockouts. Smith's danger was obvious. If Bivol stayed in front too long, one right hand could change the fight. So Bivol made Smith start over again and again. He would step in, touch with the jab, draw the big response, then move just outside the return. When Smith tried to reset his feet, Bivol was already back on him with another straight shot or short combination. The counter was not always one dramatic punch. That is what makes it useful. Bivol kept scoring in the space after Smith's attack, when Smith was no longer throwing, but was not fully safe yet. Those touches made Smith reset under pressure instead of resetting on his own terms. Smith still had dangerous moments in rounds 10 and 11, which showed why Bivol had to be careful with range. Smith could miss, cover, and try to reset, but Bivol was already stepping back in with the next jab before Smith's stance was settled. Slip counter. A slip counter starts by moving the head off the line without giving up punching position. The punch misses, but the counter is already loaded. Pernell Whitaker used the slip counter as a rhythm breaker against Julio Cesar Chavez in September 1993. Chavez came in at 87-0, the unbeaten pressure fighter moving up to challenge Whitaker for the WBC welterweight title. Whitaker did not give him a still target, but he also did not move so far away that he could not answer. When Chavez stepped in, Whitaker slipped beside the punch and stayed close enough to touch him back. Sometimes it was a short left hand. Sometimes it was a quick jab from the new angle. The counter did not need to hurt Chavez badly. It stopped him from building pressure cleanly. That is what made Whitaker so hard to trap. His head movement did not end the exchange. It changed who got to punch next. Chavez would reach, miss by a few inches, and immediately have to deal with Whitaker answering from a slightly different line. The judges called it a majority draw, but the rhythm of the fight was clear. Chavez kept moving forward, and Whitaker kept making the first punch miss before answering from the space Chavez had just opened. Counter uppercut. A counter uppercut punishes the opponent for entering too upright or too eager. He steps forward, expecting to crowd the target, and the punch comes up through the middle before his guard can close. Against Alfredo Angulo in March 2014, Canelo Alvarez kept finding that opening. Angulo came in at 22-3 with 18 knockouts, and his whole plan was pressure. He wanted to walk Canelo back, cover up, and force exchanges at close range. Canelo did not need to meet that pressure with more volume. When Angulo pressed behind the high guard, Canelo stayed balanced and looked for the gap between the gloves. The uppercut was there there because Angulo's hands were protecting the sides of his head while the center stayed open. That became clearer as the fight went on. Angulo kept stepping into work, but each entry gave Canelo another chance to punch through the middle. Some shots were clean counters as Angulo came forward. Others were lead uppercuts timed before Angulo could fully start. In round 10, Canelo found the lane again. Angulo was in front of him behind the guard, and Canelo drove a left uppercut through the middle. Punch snapped Angulo's head back, and the referee stepped in moments later to stop the fight. Roll and counter. A roll counter turns defense into a loaded punch. The fighter bends under the shot, shifts his weight, and comes up already in position to fire. Mike Tyson used it against Larry Holmes in January 1988. Holmes was 48-2. A former heavyweight champion with one of the best jabs in the division's history. Tyson could not just walk in straight and hope to trade. He had to get under the jab without arriving empty. Tyson's roll did more than avoid the punch. When Holmes jabbed, Tyson dipped under the line of the shot and moved his head toward either side. That shift loaded his legs and hips, so the counter was already building before Tyson stood back up. Once Tyson got inside, Holmes had very little time to recover. Tyson would roll under the lead hand, come up close to the chest, and fire hooks or uppercuts before Holmes could reset the distance. The defense and the counter were tied together in one motion. By round 4, Holmes was being forced backward before he could set the jab. A right hand hurt him, and Tyson followed with a finishing attack. Holmes went down 3 times in the round before the fight was stopped. Check hook. A check hook punishes forward pressure without meeting it head-on. The fighter throws the hook while stepping offline. Ricky Hatton gave Floyd Mayweather that opening in December 2007. Hatton came in undefeated at 43-0, and his whole style was built on closing distance fast. He wanted to crowd Mayweather, force clinches, and turn the fight into pressure instead of clean boxing. Mayweather did not need to stand there and trade. When Hatton rushed in, Mayweather could let the pressure come forward, throw the left hook, and pivot away before Hatton's feet caught up. That is what makes the check hook different from a normal counter hook. A regular hook tries to catch the opponent coming in. The check hook catches him while the defender is already leaving the line. The punch lands and the opponent's forward momentum carries him past the target. In round 10, Hatton charged forward again. Mayweather stepped off while throwing the left hook, and Hatton ran into the shot as he crashed into the corner. He went down and never fully recovered. The hook did not need a huge windup. Hatton's own pressure supplied the collision. Counter the exit. Countering the exit means hitting the opponent when he thinks the exchange is already over. He throws, covers, or steps away, and the counter arrives as he is leaving range. Naoya Inoue does not let the exchange end just because the opponent starts leaving. Against Nonito Donaire in November 2019, Inoue was facing a veteran champion who knew how to punch, cover, and reset before opponents could catch him clean. Inoue kept the pressure attached to Donaire's exit. When Donaire finished an exchange and started backing out, Inoue stepped with him instead of letting the space open. That kept the counter alive after the first attack had already ended. The best example came with Inoue's bodywork. Donaire would brace for the headshot, start to withdraw, and Inoue would follow with the left hook downstairs. The punch landed as Donaire was trying to leave, which made it harder to absorb cleanly. In round 11, Inoue caught him with that left to the body and sent him across the ring toward the ropes. Donaire went down after the delayed reaction and barely beat the count. The exit was supposed to give Donaire room to recover. Inoue stayed with him long enough for the body shot to land before that space fully opened. Pivot counter. A pivot counter changes the angle before the opponent can finish the exchange. The fighter turns off the line, makes the attack face the wrong direction, then punches from the side. Against Marco Antonio Barrera in November 2003, Manny Pacquiao kept stepping off after he punched. Barrera came in at 57-3, the ring featherweight champion and one of the best fighters in the world. Pacquiao could not just rush in and stay square in front of him. Pacquiao used the left hand to force Barrera to react, then change position before Barrera could answer cleanly. Sometimes the pivot came after the punch. Sometimes it came as Barrera tried to reset his feet. Either way, Pacquiao was not staying on the same line long enough for Barrera to time him. The counter came from the angle after the first attack. Barrera would turn to find Pacquiao, and the next shot was already coming from the side. That made the exchange feel longer for Barrera than it was for Pacquiao. By the middle rounds, Barrera was backing up more often after Pacquiao's entries. When he tried to answer, Pacquiao was already off the center line, forcing Barrera to punch at the space he had just left. Same time counter. A same-time counter is thrown while the opponent is punching, not after he misses. Both fighters attack at once, but one punch lands cleaner because the angle is better. Sergio Martinez caught Paul Williams with that kind of counter in November 2010. Williams came in at 39-1. a tall southpaw with a huge output, and a win over Martinez from their first fight. The rematch was for Martinez's WBC and the ring middleweight titles. Williams was dangerous because he punched while stepping in. He did not wait at long range. He crowded the exchange with long arms and volume, which made most opponents cover up first and answer later. Martinez answered at the same time instead. In round 2, Williams stepped forward and started throwing his own left hand. Martinez dipped to his right and fired his left from the outside angle. The punches were launched together, but Martinez's shot had the cleaner path. Williams was caught while starting his own left hand. Martinez's left landed on the chin, and Williams fell face first to the canvas. The fight ended at 1:10 of the second round. The timing was the whole counter. Martinez did not wait for Williams to finish. He punched into the same beat Williams thought he owned.